Donna Douglas, forever etched in America's memory as the wide-eyed pigtailed Ellie Mae Clampett, was more than just the pretty tomboy who could outwrangle a possum and charm a banker into nuts on the Beverly Hillbillies. For nearly a decade in the 1960s, her wholesome grin and that lilting Louisiana drawl turned the rags-to-riches sitcom into TV gold. But what fans never knew and what Donna kept hidden for years behind that megawatt smile is that the show's down-home charm was built on secrets that nearly broke her spirit. It wasn't until decades later, in quiet conversations and rare interviews near the end of her life, that Donna Douglas finally pulled back the curtain on the truths the producers swore she'd never tell. It all started when the Beverly Hillbillies rocketed to #1 overnight. Audiences couldn't get enough of the fish out of water, Clampett striking oil and moving from a shack to a mansion in Beverly Hills. But behind that rickety truck and laugh track, the cast endured studio politics, more cutthroat than anything Jethro Bodine ever schemed. Donna, the sweet Southern girl who always kept her Bible tucked inside her script pages, was the producers' golden goose. Her beauty sold posters, lunchboxes, and drove ratings, but it also made her a target. She revealed how executives told her outright she couldn't gain a single pound or cut her hair, how they threatened her with breach of contract lawsuits if she ever refused to pose for those endless cheesecake promotional shots. To keep the Ellie Mae image pure, they even made her sign morality clauses that dictated who she could date and where she could be seen in public. A single photograph of her with a drink in her hand would have meant immediate firing, and the sweet chemistry on screen. Donna admitted that while Buddy Epson Jed Clampett was a true father figure and always watched out for her, not everyone on set was so kind. She described the whispered rivalries, the jealous co-stars who resented her fame, and the producers who used gossip to pit the cast against each other so they'd never be together for higher pay. Donna's biggest heartbreak, she confessed, was the way the show exploited her real love for animals. Ellie Mae's menagerie was no Hollywood illusion. Donna would take home the critters between shoots, feeding raccoons in her trailer, bottle-raising baby possums, even rescuing stray dogs she found near the back lot. But she never knew the truth about what happened when the cameras stopped rolling. Decades later, she found out that many of the animals she thought were adopted by crew were actually sold off to roadside zoos and cheap carnivals. When they grew too big or too wild for TV tricks, that betrayal haunted her, she said, more than any contract squabble ever could. And then there was the money. Fans always believed the Beverly Hillbillies made its cast rich, just like the Clampetts. The reality, Donna revealed. The shocking figures earned just $500 an episode when the show started, barely enough to cover her rent and care for her beloved animals. Even when the series became the top-rated show in America, she had to fight tooth and nail for small raises. Residuals were a joke. Reruns made the studio millions, while Donna scraped by on convention appearances and gospel concerts. When the show ended in 1971, the producers slapped gag orders in their contracts, warning the cast to never reveal the backroom deals that made executives rich and left the Clampetts with next to nothing. Donna, fiercely loyal, kept her mouth shut for decades, partly out of fear, partly out of love for the fans who still stopped her in grocery store aisles to gush about Ellie Mae. But as she got older, she felt the weight of those secrets pressing on her soul. In her later interviews, she spoke softly but firmly about the emotional toll of being typecast, of Hollywood branding her as too country for serious roles, of doors slammed in her face when she tried to find work after the show. She described being blackballed by some of the same producers who once called her TV sweetheart, all because she dared ask for a fair contract. In one poignant story, Donna talked about how she used her final seasons on the show to slip messages to fans. She'd sneak real animal rescue details into lines or wear a tiny cross hidden on her costumes, hoping to remind young girls watching that faith and kindness mattered more than money or fame. Long after the show ended, she refused to take part in any reboot that didn't guarantee fair pay and animal welfare protections, which is partly why so many attempted revivals died in the water. And yet, for all the heartbreak, she never once regretted Ellie Mae. Donna Douglas said again and again that she loved the fans who kept her spirit alive, who brought her flowers at fan expos, who mailed her photos of their own rescue animals. She'd answer every letter by hand, even when arthritis made it hard to hold a pen. She believed the show did more good than harm, even if the producers' greed nearly destroyed its legacy. She forgave the co-stars who slighted her, the studio bosses who treated her like property, and the gossip columnists who called her dumb as a possum when they didn't know her IQ was higher than most of the men who wrote her checks. When asked, near the end of her life, what she'd want fans to remember, Donna said this: "They made me sign papers to keep my mouth shut, but I've lived long enough to tell you, don't believe every smile. You see on TV, the Clampetts were richer than we ever were because they had each other. That's what I wish I'd had more of. People. I could trust people who loved the critters as much as me." And with that, Ellie Mae Clampett, the girl who could wrestle a mountain lion before breakfast, finally spoke her truth. The real story the Beverly Hillbillies producers tried so hard to bury. And maybe that's why all these years later, when Ryan's play and Ellie Mae flashes that grin, you can see the strength behind her eyes. The resilience of a small-town girl who faced down the biggest sharks in Hollywood and kept her kindness intact. The secret's out now, and the fancy folks in the mansion can't hush her up ever again. Subscribe to Hollywood Untold for more emotional stories behind music legends and the feuds that shaped rock history. Tap the bell to never miss a beat.